Oh.
Good morning. How are you? Good. Yeah.
Registration sent yesterday for the provisionals. Yeah, I put the paper right now. I emailed it yesterday.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Sure. Oh, good.
Thanks.
Morning.
Morning. Good morning.
Morning, huh? Okay, I like that. Yeah. I got it.
Okay, good morning, everybody. Let us stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. I will note for the record that all board members are present, and good morning to you. Morning. Thank you. We will move into our agenda with our registration department. We'll call upon our registration manager, Betty Edwards, to come to determine the validity of provisional ballots and the authorization to count provisional ballots for the May 2nd, 2023 election.
Chairman, I defer to Brad Boyda, supervising the registration department for the report.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Mr. Boyd.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Spell your last name, I'm sorry.
Boyta. My name is Bradley Boyda. I'm supervisor of the registration department, who's been the project manager of provisional verification for the past 4 years. In front of you, you have the May 2nd, 2023 primary election provisional verification summary. A total of 134 provisional ballots were cast during the May 2nd, 2023 primary election. Of the 134 provisional ballots, 121 were confirmed to be valid provisionals, and 13 were rejected for various reasons. My team and I verified all 134 provisional ballots cast in accordance with Chapter 8 Provisional Voting of the Ohio Secretary of State's Election Official Manual, also known as Directive 2022-12, Directive 2023-03, entitled House Bill 458, put forth by the 134th General Assembly, Directive 2023-06, entitled May 2nd, 2023, Primary Special Election Canvass Instructions, and HB 458 clarifications, and the mandatory step-by-step process for examining provisional ballots, all which issued by the Ohio Secretary of State's office. We determined 121 provisional ballots met the requirements for opening and tabulating, which includes one provisional ballot that was cast in the wrong precinct but the correct location that is eligible to be remade. We verified 5 incoming out-of-county provisional voters did not vote in their previous county, and 27 outgoing provisional voters who moved to a new county in Ohio, did not vote in Cuyahoga County. No double voters were found. Before we get to our recommendation, I'd like to briefly review why the voters may have voted provisionally. If you guys look at that pie chart in front of you, please note that we do make some assumptions as to the reasons why a voter voted provisionally, and it should be noted that some of the voters had multiple reasons. However, they will only appear in one category, or they'll be pushed to the Z other category. The registration department is recommending that 121 provisional ballots from the May 2nd, 2023 primary election be approved for opening and tabulating. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions?
I do have a
Yes,
question, I'm
please.
sorry. Yeah, just wondering, so if we have, the Z voters or Z others include voters who did not bring proper ID to the polls, and then those who don't really fit in the category, but we have like missing identification as a reason for rejection. Are we making a distinction between missing identification and proper identification? And if so, could you just explain how we're making that distinction and if we had any issues with proper identification among this number?
So this pie chart is not going over that. Because someone that has missing identification, they would fall into one of the categories of an address change, maybe an absentee was requested, things of that nature. So that's not broken down like that.
So the,
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
yeah, so the pie chart, so the table is really the official document, official report that shows why these provisionals were rejected, and that corresponds with reporting that we have to do for the Secretary of State's office. So missing identification, that is a person that didn't show ID. So this one here, so the photo ID, the new photo ID requirement to vote provisionally, we had 2 individuals who didn't meet that. And that's what is reflected there. The chart is something that.
Is that reflected as missing identification?
That's the missing identification.
Yeah, okay.
And the chart is something that is supplemental that we do to try to kind of show why people vote provisionally. But it's the missing identification in the table in the actual first page of the report. Those are those folks who, for example, one individual, they wrote a portion of their driver's license number, but didn't get all 6 characters down. So can't do that. And then another one is, I think they just straight up checked the box, but didn't put down any other digits.
Yeah, I mean, I understand we could come up with a zillion scenarios where that might, mean there was missing identification. My concern though is, are we tracking, at least initially, and we see how the photo ID law works out, how many people are, I actually think we had low turnout, not only because it was a miserable day, but because, people maybe didn't have the right ID or didn't think they did, but I would be curious just to know
Yeah.
how many people had compliant with the photo ID law, or how many are not in this case. So, and if there's a difference between missing and proper, let's use the same, or no difference, let's use the same language, so it's not confusing. But if we can capture for our purposes, just so we know, maybe there's stuff that can be better.
Yeah, so I would say for this election, of the 134, 132 would have had photo ID to show.
Right.
And 2 of them
Did
did not.
not, okay. Let's just make sure missing identification, proper identification are the same thing, and if there's some way to, this was a smaller election, so, maybe it doesn't seem like that much, but it could be significant going forward, and if, for
Well,
us to be informed about how we might respond appropriately, we need to know if there's a problem, so
no,
we'll
I
capture that better.
100% agree. And actually in a conversation yesterday that we had internally with Tony, myself, with registration staff, what this did do, now that we have one under our belt, it raised some questions. And that we'll be putting together to try to get with the Secretary of State's office to say, hey, this didn't happen this time, but these are definitely kind of from our experience, some realistic hypotheticals that we could see. So when we go from 134 to 5,000 or 10,000, a provisional is cast in an election, it probably will happen, and see how much can we head off or get clarity on the front end instead of trying to figure out what do we do at that point. So yeah, this was a good start, but it definitely, I think, said, oh boy, here's some things that we could really anticipate happening, and let's try to get some clarity before the next one happens.
I have a question. Do you know if anybody came down post-election with an ID?
So we had nobody come in for the cure period.
Yeah.
Not even anyone that was confused with the new laws, things of that nature. Not one person came down.
So just in terms of lessons learned, is that gonna be the usual lessons this follow-up that you're gonna do is gonna be part of lessons learned, or you'll report back to us whatever the discussion is on the specific issues that you identified and that you're gonna discuss with the Secretary of State.
Yeah, so lessons learned will be its own, like what we
That's
typically do,
okay.
but this is gonna be a standalone thing. And actually, we were kind of talking about kind of coming up with ours and maybe reaching out to some of our neighboring counties just to see what their experiences were and maybe see where we have overlap, because I think everyone who touched Cuyahoga also was in the May election. So Lorraine, Medina, Summit, Portage, Geauga, Lake, I think all of them had an election. So I want to see too, is there some common themes that we saw or that we anticipate and, strengthen numbers?
That makes sense. Yeah, probably the Secretary of State appreciates instead of a piecemeal response from everybody. So that sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, then I will make a motion. I move to acknowledge the validity of provisional ballots and the authorization to count provisional ballots from the May 2nd, 2023 election with 121 valid ballots that will be counted.
Second?
Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it. It is so ordered. Thank you, Mr. Boyd.
Thank you, everybody.
Moving on with our agenda, we have before us the challenge of voter residency. And we have several challenges before us, but the board also received a motion to dismiss the challenge. And we would ask if Mr. James Alexander is present, if there's anything that you would like to speak to. Is he allowed to participate in Zoom?
Yes.
He is. Okay, Mr. Alexander,
He's
if you unmute yourself, is there anything that you would like to say pertaining to the motion to dismiss?
Thank you very much. Good morning, distinguished members of the board. I do appreciate the opportunity to appear before you today. Speaking candidly, I think it's been probably 20 years since I've been before this body. So this is a distinct honor. I did get involved in this just on this past Monday, May 8th, 2023. I can show you a timestamp copy of a complaint that I filed. You probably can't see it in the East Cleveland Municipal Court on that date. And that turned out to be a fateful day. I had been involved in East Cleveland politics for at least a decade. I run into my good friend, Eric Brewer. I learned that he's the clerk of the East Cleveland City Council now. I ran into my good friend, Nathaniel Martin. I learned that his seat as a councilman is in flux and there's some litigation involved in that. I ran into my good friend, Willa Hemmons, who's a law director at East Cleveland. And I talked to Mayor King, whose family I've known for 50 years. And that's how I learned about this proceeding. It sort of offended my sense of fairness. But here it is on Monday, and he's got a hearing on Wednesday, doesn't have legal counsel. And what's this all about? So I had a chance to look at the statute. And then I came downtown and I met with your distinguished clerk and was able to get a copy of the petition that Mr. Brewer had filed. Of course, he told me that day he had filed a petition. He wanted to show me some pictures, but I came down here and those pictures are included in the file. I must say it wasn't easy to get a copy of this at first, but eventually we got it. And one of the reasons that I was concerned with looking at it, not only just because of its content, to see what the content was, but also to be able to see when in fact it was filed, because your statute has some deadlines in it. I did not realize that you have these statutory, really constricted time problems sometimes when you get these protests. So that's a problem in itself, insofar as fairness. But on the other hand, I can understand it in the context of an upcoming election, and you got to get these issues resolved as soon as possible. But best I could tell, there's nothing going on in East Cleveland right now, anytime soon. So why is it this hurry up, giddy up hearing necessary? I don't get it. But I filed this motion to dismiss because if you look at these deadlines, you know, the actual filing date for Mr. Brewer's challenge was on April 17th. And the clerk gave me a timestamp copy of that. So I think 30 days needed to run from then. So this challenge is too late. This challenge is too late, and I've outlined it in my motion to dismiss. And by the way, I served county prosecutor with a copy of this motion to dismiss. And there are a number of other problems that I see with this. I didn't know exactly at first that I was going to be representing all of these people, but they've not only challenged the mayor, but they've challenged every member of his family. So that's another reason why I got involved in this. See, I had the building at 1835 Forest Hills Boulevard in East Cleveland. The mayor's father was one of my colleagues there. We had attorney Stanley Tolliver in there. Attorney, my longtime colleague, Darrell E. Pittman, former mayor of East Cleveland, in that building. So we all know the King family is involved in East Cleveland for decades. So my sense of fundamental unfairness got me involved in this, even though I'm scheduled to be in a trial elsewhere this very day. I think I've said enough. My motion to dismiss outlines the specifics of our reason.
We do have that, sir. We've received that information, and we certainly thank you for your input. And we will ask you now to go back on mute. And I'm going to ask Mr. Eric Brewer if you have a response to that which Mr. Alexander has stated. You may come to the podium to my left and your right and state for the record your name, sir, and you may give a response.
Thank you. My name is Eric J. Brewer. I'm the clerk of East Cleveland City Council. I filed this challenge to Mayor Brandon King, his mother Norma King, his wife Stephanie McCarroll King, Cecil King, and Norman King voter registration after I had the duties of coming to the board to certify petitions that had been circulated to recall 3 members of City Council. And in doing so, I had the opportunity to validate Mayor King's signature on a petition he circulated. And when I checked his voter registration address, I saw that there were 7 adults living at 1735 Elsinore Street in East Cleveland. I went by to inspect the property to see if 7 adults actually lived there, and I found an uninhabitable structure that no one could possibly live in. The back door was barricaded, the front door was barricaded. This was on March 17th. There was debris in the backyard.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
just a point of order. We're talking about the motion to dismiss. Have you received a copy of the motion to dismiss?
I did receive that.
Let's concentrate on that first. We're dealing with preliminary matters right now, not your investigation or your complaint
Gotcha,
itself.
gotcha,
It's whether or not to be properly
The
or
procedural
timely.
issue.
Thank you, Mr. Russell.
Okay. Relative to Councilor Alexander's motion to dismiss, I find it without merit. There's no procedure in the precinct challenge that authorizes a motion to dismiss. They're supposed to be here. We all have the same short deadline. I also provided copies of the complaints that I had filed in advance to Mayor King's family members by mail and by email to his wife. I called her to let her know that it was filed. I saw Mr. Alexander, I read his motion. He indicated that the one section in the statute that was not cited by me that dealt with a religious identification had been repealed. I did not cite that, but that law had not been repealed. And he made some accusations that this was based on individuals disgruntled because they sought to recall Mayor King. I was not involved in that, did not participate in that at all as a resident. I don't think that there's any merit to his motion to dismiss because it seeks to avoid several issues. I did read Mayor King's response and the submission of his tax forms that came with the motion to dismiss. He submitted forms for 2021 and 2013 as a single man when in 2022 he was married. And so his tax filings would have changed at that particular time. I don't believe, again, that his dismissal motion has any merit. I'm prepared to move forward. We have witnesses here, and those witnesses were subpoenaed just on Monday. They had a short time frame in which to appear. And it seems as if the attorney for Mayor King is more interested in, from what I read, is other cases that he has a duty to his other clients that has nothing to do with this matter. Under the diligence rules of the Code of Professional Conduct, he's supposed to manage his time and make sure that he doesn't take a case that he doesn't have the ability to serve his client.
Okay, Mr. Burr, I believe that we've gotten the gist of your argument. And at this point, we're going to thank you for that. I'm going to ask our counsel, Mr. Bussin, if there's anything that you would like to share with us related to this motion to dismiss.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the board. The way I understand the motion to dismiss is that it's based on the timing deadlines in the statute 3503.24, which says that these challenges to voter registrations need to be filed no later than the 30th day before the day of the election. It doesn't qualify what election that's referring to. It appears that Mr. Alexander understands that as the last municipal election, which if a voter challenge would never be timely if it was the last election. It's clearly referencing the prospective, the upcoming election. Here, 30 days, there is no election that I'm aware of that these voters would be eligible to vote in within 30 days. So I don't think, and I don't believe this motion has any merit.
Thank you.
Here's a question for council. Don't we have a duty to investigate these challenges anyway in any voter irregularity? So we wouldn't be held to any strict there's no statute that appears to govern our duty to investigate these kinds of challenges anyways, although that specific, there is a statute that governs a time frame for elections, but don't we have an overarching duty to investigate these matters?
That's correct. 350111, I believe. The board has the duty to investigate the qualifications of voters, particularly residency. Not necessarily in a hearing, but generally there is that duty to investigate.
And we could call a hearing in such instance. Or
If the investigation called for that, yes.
Okay, thank you. No questions? Yeah, I would just, if I may further elaborate, it just seems to me that, there is a duty for us to investigate this in terms of the motion to dismiss. I do think in terms of fundamental fairness, if I in a court, and we're acting in a quasi judicial capacity here, but if I were a judge, and I'm sure judges receive motions to continue all the time, and for the most part, do grant those because of the fundamental fairness issue, because of the potential due process issue. I do acknowledge Mr. Brewer's argument that, they got the same short time frame too. And I do understand that, but I do think we want to this is a significant issue he's raised. There's a lot of bells and whistles associated with a lot of evidence that was submitted in connection with the challenge that as a board member, I would want to consider carefully. And I honestly would want to have the other folks represented and be able to have a full representation to respond to the very significant challenge that Mr. Brewer has raised. So I would be in favor of not granting a motion to dismiss. And actually, I know we haven't talked about the motion for continuance, but I, given the fact that there's no upcoming election, I would hope that we would set a deadline for everybody to know in advance that we will have, that the hearing would be continued. And this is just my opinion, and that we would have a deadline by which any and all documents would have to be submitted, nothing beyond that, just to make sure that everybody has the full exchange of information and we could move forward with a robust hearing. The charges are very significant, and the evidence that's been presented that I read so far is significant. But I do feel like we need to be out of fairness and to avoid any kind of due process issue. We should we should continue it, deny the motion to dismiss, but continue the hearings so that everyone can be heard and that we can have a full and fair hearing.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Chappelle.
Sorry for my rambling
No,
remarks.
that's fine. I will formalize what you said, and I will move to deny the motion to dismiss.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
The ayes have it, and it is so ordered. We have before us a request for continuance. And again, that's before us. And Mr. Alexander, if there's anything that you would like to say, sir, we will yield the floor to you as we now move on to the request for continuance.
Well, thanks again. I appreciate the comments that have already been made. Let me see if something going on my side here. I do believe in fundamental fairness. That's what got me involved in this more than anything else at this time. And I do have a matter scheduled. It's been around since the 19th of May. And it's just, I'm sorry, 2019. It's a family matter of a smaller part. East Cleveland is a family matter. These folks have been fighting for a long time. And I know that the issues on both sides are very passionate. They all care. They just have different perspectives about things. And I want to give him the best representation I possibly can, and to have a fair opportunity to evaluate the evidence and present our side. And I can't do that right now. I should be with my other clients at this moment, preparing for this, doing our final preparation for the trial I've got in the matter that I've listed in my motion for continuance. So again, thank you so much for considering the motion to continue. And again, it doesn't, as been pointed out, there's no election coming up anytime soon. We've got time to adjudicate these issues.
Thank you, sir. And you may put your phone back on mute, and we thank you for your comments. I'm going to ask if Sheldon Stark is present, and if you have anything that you would like to speak to germane to the request for continuance. It's Mr. Stark. Welcome, sir. Would you state for the clerk your name and position? Thank you.
My name is Jason Kasunik, and I'm here with my co-counsel Sheldon Stark. And
Can you spell the city?
yeah, Kasunik is spelled K-A-S-U-N-I-C-K. And again, I'm an attorney licensed in the state of Ohio, as is Mr. Stark. We represent Stephanie McCarroll King. So what the previous attorney said that he represents all the parties, that's not quite correct. We do represent her. She approached Mr. Stark for legal counsel, and we just wanted to make the board aware of that. And we would just reiterate the motion to continue. This was all happened very fast. We've only known about this for a few days. It's not possibly, we didn't possibly have enough time to formulate any kind of defense or even really get a full panel on all the facts, all the relevant facts that we would need to present our defense and represent our client adequately. So we would just reiterate the motion to continue at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Kasunik. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
We'll now ask if Mr. Eric Brewer has any response to what has been said relative to the request for continuance.
Eric J. Brewer, Clerk of East Cleveland City Council. I have no response to the motion to continue. I think it's fine.
Thank you, sir.
Mr.
I'm gonna
Chair,
go to my board members.
yeah,
Yes,
Mr. Chair, I would just say, given there's no harm and no prejudice to anyone, frankly, by continuing this hearing and based on the no objection from Mr. Brewer and the arguments of the council indicating they do need more time to be able to fully and fairly represent their clients, I would move that we continue the hearing to our meeting on May 23rd. And I would also ask that we set a deadline for the submission of any and all documents, a very firm deadline, so we're not, in the interest of fairness, so that nobody's submitting things after a specific date certain. So, but I would move that we grant the continuance of hearing to May 23rd, first and foremost.
Thank you, Ms. Chappelle. That motion is in order. It's seconded by Ms. Sticken. And I would like to add, as we discuss this, relative to your deadlines, Ms. Chappelle, that there will be some firm deadlines set around the proceedings on May the 23rd, that these cases will be heard, that there will be firm deadlines for 4:00 p.m. on May the 16th, 2023, that there will be no further continuances, no further submittals from the challenger, and any legal briefs in response must be submitted 1 week in advance, which would be that May 16th deadline, and that no reply briefs allowed. So those are the parameters whereby we will proceed with the hearings on the 23rd.
So that's a friendly amendment.
That's a
to our
friendly
motion.
amendment to the motion, but I wanted that in the record
Great.
so that all of the participants know the parameters whereby we will proceed on the 23rd. Okay, so yes, Mr. Musk.
I would like to get Mr. Alexander on the record agreeing with that date.
Okay, Mr. Alexander, you've been asked to agree to that date. If you would unmute, sir. No, he's off.
Maybe we can
All
do it.
right. Now, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now as to the 23rd, are we talking the same time, 9:30 in the morning?
Yes,
Is
9:30 a.m., sir.
Yeah, is there any discretion on the time?
No, sir.
Got a final pretrial scheduled with Judge Turner in a case. Another case has been kicking around since 2018.
We appreciate that, sir. The hearing will proceed at 9:30 a.m. on May the 23rd, 2023.
All right. Thanks so
Thank you,
much.
sir. You may mute.
He has no objection.
Yes.
Mr. Stark.
Yes, Mr. Stark.
Yes, it's good. No, I would ask.
Yes,
Yeah,
please
yeah.
ask Mr. Stark.
Oh, Mr. Stark, you understand that date is firm?
Or Senate.
Mr. Kucinich,
Mr. Kucinich.
May the 23rd. Okay,
With the 16th.
with the 16th deadlines for submission.
On the record.
Yes.
Part
Did
of
you
your
want that?
question?
You want that part of the question?
I think we acknowledge, they acknowledge it on the
Yeah,
record.
acknowledge it. Okay, thank you, sir. All right, so we have the motion before us
As friendly amended.
with the friendly amendment of the ground rules whereby we will proceed. Is there any unreadiness on behalf of the board?
No.
Hearing none, we're prepared for the question. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye, the ayes have it, and it is so ordered. Thank you.
Chairman?
Yes, sir.
And I don't know, do we need to clarify exactly what the question is that we'll be
Yes,
answering?
And the
on
question that will be answered specifically, and the only thing that we will deal with on the 23rd is specifically this question. Whether the voters who are being challenged are residents of the address and precinct where they offer to vote. That is all that we are dealing with in this matter. Whether the persons being challenged are residents of the address and the precinct where they vote, nothing else. Thank you,
Okay.
the director.
And perhaps in the notice, when we send the notice about the hearing and the guidelines, we can
Restate that.
restate that so it's clear as well.
Keep an ear. Good.
Thank you, Director. Okay, we will proceed with our agenda, and we will hear from candidate and petition services with the acknowledgement and resignations of appointments to elected office. And I will move to acknowledge the resignation from elected office of Jack Subel, Chagrin Falls Village Council, Member of Council, and the appointment to elected office of Donald Gutierrez, Chagrin Falls Village Council, Member of Council, and Frederick Vincent, Moreland Hills Village Council, Member of Council. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Chappelle. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it, and it is so ordered. Thank you. Fiscal Services, we will call upon Ms. Shankita Walker to speak to us with the approval of vouchers and resolutions. Ms. Walker, the floor is yours.
Good morning,
Thank you.
Shankita Walker, Fiscal Manager. Before you have two items. The first item you have Resolution 2023.
Excuse me, sir, would you please, no talking? Thank you. Sorry, Ms. Walker, you may proceed.
The first resolution is for Clear Valley Group. This is the payment of our table B items with our new ballot equipment. As part of us receiving the money from the state, we were obligated to purchase $79,000 of additional equipment in order to operate the new ballot equipment. So this resolution is the authorization to make that payment.
Thank you. I move the authorization of the payments of the vouchers and resolutions before us. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, any unreadiness on behalf of the board? Director, anything you want to add?
Just real quick, so the clear ballot, this was something that was part of the negotiations that we engaged in with prosecutor's office, Dan McMillan, and clear ballot. These were things so that don't qualify under table A items per the state funding, but county council had pre-funded this for us, and it's additional on-site support from technicians, backup thumb drives. As you all know, we seem to have an election every other month, so we need extra memory sticks and backup servers and those types of things. So that's what this clear ballot items are. And actually, these things, this pricing is set on table B, which was part of the state process. They had table A. This is what the state term pricing is. It qualifies for state funds, and these items come off of table B, which is, this is also state term pricing, but the state dollars don't qualify.
So are we also authorizing OPEX at $40,000, $40,000? Oh, that's a different one. Okay.
Yes, so I do want to make sure that
But
that
it
is a
seems to be
separate
all under
item.
this separate tab. Okay.
Motion, so you can speak to that if you like.
Oh, okay, okay. I'll pause for the explanation.
Ms. Walker, the floor is yours.
Thank you.
So the second resolution to Chairman Member Chappelle's point is the OPEX machine, which is a mailing machine that we want to purchase. We're asking for permission to make this procurement. This is also part or in connection with our new ballot system setup. This is coming off of the ancillary funds from table C. Table C are items that we need to update our process for our equipment. We received funding from the county already, so we do have the funds in place to make this purchase.
So I guess I'm not clear why we're doing this since we previously approved this $40,000 at a 2022 meeting.
We approved the purchase of the use of the ancillary funds. I'm bringing it to your attention so you know, to keep you informed and transparency of what we're utilizing.
Oh, okay. But as a practical matter, there's no extra expenditure. The only expenditure we're authorizing is the $79,500. Is that right? On the vouchers from the.
Yes.
Okay,
Authorized
just want to be
payment.
clear. Thank you. Thank you.
Director, did you have?
I was just, these OPEX machines, we currently have 9 of them in the ballot department to help with the vote by mail process. It's a nice piece of equipment. Ryan clearly loves them. And so what we don't have is one in this building. And one of the things this will help us with is with House Bill 458 and some of the new requirements on reporting that we have to do as far as volume of vote by mail that comes out of the drop box and people that walk them into the building. We need to provide daily hand counts. And when that gets high volume, this is something where not only would it open that piece of mail, but it also gives a hand count, which will then allow us to timely, or not, doesn't give us a hand count, it gives us a count. So we can timely report on a daily basis, the Secretary of State, these new requirements that we have, where without this, that truly is a hand count of whatever comes out of that box on a daily basis, which you can do, but not the most efficient use of our time and resources.
So just to be clear again, then, so we've already authorized the use of the system and the amount that's being expended to buy it. Is that correct?
For the
OPEX.
OPEX. So we're extending, we already currently using this software, we're just bringing a person, last commission personnel for this building for the process.
Okay, so are we approving another expenditure then?
No, not this. This is
Okay,
just
I'm
authorizing.
just confused.
No,
Okay.
so we're just bringing it to you to get the permission to expend the money. When we go downtown, we have to have approval from our board to spend.
Oh, I got it, for them to authorize off the schedule. Okay, I got it. Thank you. Sorry about that.
No
Just to be
problem.
clear.
Any other unreadiness? The motion is on the floor to approve.
Second,
This is-
if needed.
I think Ms. Chappelle had already said
Oh,
that
okay,
it's on the floor. So we're ready for the question. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
The ayes have it in this order. Thank you,
Thank
Ms.
you.
Walker. Onto our human resources agenda. I move to approve the personnel agenda and with joy and sadness to acknowledge the retirement of Betty Edwards from Manager of Registration Department effective June 30th, 2023. I thought maybe I saw a typo, June 31st, because there's no such thing, but it is June 30th. But it's June 30th, 2023. And to acknowledge the appointment of Connor Shaw to Election Official 1, Election Support Department, effective May 22nd, 2023. And the appointment of Holly Bodie to Election Official 1, Ballot Prep and Tab Department, effective May 22nd, 2023. Is there a second?
I'm gonna second, only ask to Connor Shaw and Holly Bowden. No, I second the motion, but I have to, if I may say, boy, Betty, I don't know, even the words to say. I mean, I've been here since 2007, and it's been a pleasure to have you be at the helm of this department. Never, ever was there any worry in my mind that all the work coming out of that great department was correct, was investigated, everything vetted thoroughly. You know, you have kindly mentored other people and allowed them to come take the podium to give the report out of your department. But we always knew, and the reports were always, you have a great department. They've benefited greatly by your mentorship. But we always knew, I could look back there and see you sitting there and know that everything they were saying was 120% correct. And all of the work that had been done leading up to the meeting had been done in extraordinary fashion. And I really, it's really sad to see you go, but having recently retired, I totally get it from my regular gig. So wishing you nothing but all of God's blessings as you move on. I know you're going to be here for a little bit longer, but it's hard to see it in writing that you finally have decided to retire. But know that you will be sorely missed, and you know, just the quality and exceptionalism that you brought of work and your personhood and all that you brought to this agency on behalf of the voters has been much appreciated. I mean, words can't even say how much. So thank you so much for all your great service.
Thank you.
Very well said.
Thank you. I echo Ms. Chappelle's sentiments, and it was a joy to work with you shoulder to shoulder for many years. And we wish you well. And this is the end. We still have work to do till June 30th.
That's right.
And we're looking,
Yes, I
and so we're excited for you, and thank you for all that you are still doing.
That's right.
for us.
Yes, that's right. Yes.
I'd like to add that this is a wonderful email that you sent.
Oh, it was nice. Yeah, so
Very
wonderful.
nice, very
Wonderful,
nice.
you know, from a wonderful person. I miss you already, even though we have to keep you for at least a little
She's
over a
still
month
here.
here. So we'll enjoy that time with you, but yeah. We congratulate you on your
Yeah.
retirement though too. As much as we're sad, we're happy for you too. so.
No, we didn't, no, we didn't.
We haven't voted yet. so.
Oh, yeah.
We could still pause, right?
Thank you. The motion is before us. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it, and it is so ordered. Thank you so much. We have a walk-on agenda item before us, and that relates to Broadview Heights,
Yep, yep.
and I will ask Director Berlotti to tee that up for us.
So, as we've done a couple times, so far this year, we have some ward and corresponding precinct boundary adjustments in the municipality. This is Broadview Heights. It is all part of that. The municipality changing their ward boundary lines to rebalance, and then which results, their population, which results in Board of Elections having to now reconfigure precincts to match up with the new ward boundaries. This, as we've done, we create the document, we shared it with the clerk of council, mayor, and council of Broadview Heights. This was initially scheduled to come before you on the 23rd, but I got notice this week from the clerk that council's already looked at it, like it. I have no questions with it. And so with that, I figured let's, if we could get this done today, it helps us in that Broadview Heights is a municipality that will participate in September. So it gives us the ability to get these boundaries done sooner than later, as we will be processing petitions for candidates for the June, I think, 14th or 12th deadline, filing deadline. So that's what we have here. The number of precincts stayed the same in the city. However, going into the process, Ward 3 had 4 precincts, and that now will go down to 3. And Ward 2 previously had 3 precincts, and that will go up to 4. Again, trying to get balanced precinct numbers and get a reasonable distance away from the 1,400 upper limit that stands for its precinct size. Broadview Heights is a community in which it is split into 2 school districts. So it's the Brecksview Broadview Heights District, as well as the North Royalton City School District. So like John Eddie always does, if he can, he tries to carve out and have things be as clean as possible. And that's the reason why, for example, in Ward 4, you have a small precinct, and that's because you have part of Ward 4 that's in one school district and one in the other. Same thing in Ward 3. So that's what we have before us. And if there's any questions.
No, it's pretty straightforward.
Hearing none, I move to approve the ward and precinct boundary modifications for Broadview Heights.
Second?
Been seconded. Ready for the question? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. It is so ordered. Thank you. Any new business for the director, deputy director?
I have one question. Shooting 4th of September, what if there's an office?
Well, not today.
As far as for these,
You would have, these would be in effect.
these would be in effect. But if August were to happen, that, and if it were to be a statewide issue, the communities are voting, they're not voting on a ward type basis versus the municipality trying to run for a council, ward council seat where you have a more defined, that becomes, I would say, a citywide thing. So it doesn't, we will have them done in time for that, but if we didn't, it wouldn't negatively impact that election. So it's more so.
A lot of voter confusion, possibly. If notices went out, notifying voters, you're not gonna vote here.
Yes.
And then subsequent to that, there happens to be another election.
Right, so what would happen, just the actual timing of this one, if in fact we do know today one way or another, we would be able to, by the time we do the DIMS data entry, do the proofing and put them into place, when we would send out our notification, this would be set. So when we said it, it would be with this applied. As opposed to sending something and all of a sudden a week later, we got to send something different.
Right.
No, we would,
You'd be ready in time.
yeah,
That's really the question.
yes, we would be okay.
Mr. Kitten, Mr. Conley,
No,
any questions?
nothing for me.
Okay, thank you. Any new business? Director, Deputy Director?
Right, I just wanted to make you aware as far as poll worker payroll for May. It's going well, and by this Friday, if not sooner, maybe tomorrow, we'll have that filed to the county fiscal office for them to go ahead and process the checks.
So that means that our poll workers will hopefully receive payment by,
So that would be hopefully checks going in the mail next week, and then they would get those checks next week.
Thank you.
I'm good.
Thank you. Okay, we do have requests for public comment. We have Patricia Blakoviak who wants to speak to the challenge of Stephanie Marie, McCarroll King, and Brandon King. Is Ms. Blakoviak still present? Seeing that she's not, we will move on. Justin Anderson is asked to speak for Mayor Brandon King. Is Justin Anderson here? Seeing that he's not, we will proceed. Board members, I don't see a need for executive session. No executive session. Okay, then I will move to recess this body until our May the 23rd meeting.
second?
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
We are in recess. Thank you.